Good morning to all. Welcome to the third day session of FDP. This is a AI series on the Oxford Engineering. And we have Dr. N. Sriram as our guest speaker for this session. Dr. N. Sriram speaks in communication engineering and an MTech degree in biomedical engineering and PhD degree in information technology in the area of biological signal processing from Malaysia. He's currently as professor, Department of Medical Electronics, Ramaiah Institute of Technology, Bangalore. He is also serving as head R&D at MSI. For 180 published journals and conferences. Currently, he is involved in 1.5 crores worth sponsored research funded projects. His current research include biomedical signal process, cognitive neuroscience, data mining, neural networks. He is also serving as editor-in-chief of International Journal of Medical and Clinical Engineering. Dr. Sriram is a senior member of IEEE and IEEE Engineering in Medicine and Biology Life member of Telemedicine Society of India and member of Medical Computer Society of India. He is serving as chairman of IEEE EMBS chapter Bangalore, section India. He is also serving as technical committee member MSIPS, which is Medical Electronics Group, Ministry of Information Technology Communication, Government of India. Technical committee member of Indo-Israel Cooperation Project. Third, of Department of Biotechnology and College of in this FDP session. The sessions. This session, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the introduction. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for providing an opportunity to share my research views and other aspects towards these things. I'm not sure about the audience. Hopefully, it's a faculty plus PG students, or probably UG students would have joined for this session. So, what I have done is that my presentation talks about the perspective of the innovation. Then some of the case studies which we have been doing for the last 5 to 7 years, and what are the opportunities, and I'll be talking about this importance of this maker space. That's the flow of my today's presentation. So I'll be happy to provide the feedback, or whatever queries you have. Probably you can post your queries at the end of the session in the chat box, so that I'll be in a position to respond to your queries. First of all, I would like to congratulate the organizer for making the concept of this workshop or an FDP something different from the traditional one. See, we are in the era where innovation or the translation of the concept or the idea to the product level is the need of the hour, especially this COVID scenario. Nobody would have expected this kind of an scenario. It has affected the entire world, isn't it? That this lockdown, nobody would have heard about the word lockdown. Lockdown is quite different in different scenarios. And the moment the lockdown happened, immediately our country was looking for some kind of innovation, especially the product called ventilator. So they started looking into all the avenues where the ventilator, which is in the first stage, second stage, or concept level, first level of prototype, it's say TRL level 4, 3, all those things, they want to grab it. So that is the main importance of the innovation. So it's very important for us to protect our ideas and come forward or move forward towards our innovation. That's the main mantra which we need to get it at the end of this uh, program. And so innovation is nothing but something new. It can be called as a kind of an old wine in a new bottle or something new. It will be a kind of refund. It's very difficult to come with a complete 100% innovation. It's impossible. Something is available in the market or something is available with us. We want to fine tune it in such a way that it will be helpful. So let us look into the aspect of innovation or what are the parameters, criteria of innovation at a later stage. Since this session is on bio-innovation, I would like to focus my attention only on these things. And especially the healthcare sector needs an innovation. See, this is a kind of a typical setup. I will say that this is a rural setup where people are forced to stand in a queue. See, most of the urbanized area, they have a very sophisticated hospital, everything. And I was told that most of the rural place, this is called the primary clinic. See the pathetic condition of the primary clinic. They don't have a dedicated built-up area, no facilities, no light, no fan. They have only a table and chair. And I'm really wondering if somebody comes with an emergency, how they will attend it. This is the real scenario of our country. I won't tell that this is the scenario of India. Most of the underdeveloping country, including the African countries, the scenario is like this. So what they do is they try to bring a vehicle which has a basic facilities and try to provide the minimum requirement to the public. Even the medicine also they try to provide it. The main reason of these kind of things is the connectivity. The connectivity is main, though there won't be any kind of a road connectivity, no transport facility, nothing. 12 to 14% of our Indian villages of this kind. The development is keep on happening, but to reach the entire villages or resource constraint is needs a lot of attention, and that is the need of the hour which we need to focus. So what I want to stress at this point is that we are talking about healthcare, but the healthcare also needs some sort of a solution to such resource constraint setup. So when I say a solution may be of a very innovative thing without looking into the power. So when you want to drive your device, we should not merely depend upon the general power source. So it should be a battery operator. It should be portable, easily movable from one place to another. These are the requirements. Well, our government has taken a lot of initiatives to meet the demand. A lot of initiatives, when you look into the last 4 to 5 years, a lot of things have happened thanks to the digital connectivity. Because of the concept of this digital era, things have changed. At least they are in a position to tell that how many people are affected with a certain disease. It may be a pandemic disease, non-communicable disease, communicable disease, whatever it may be. At least, they were able to get the information from a community center or a primary health center or whatever may be the tertiary health care. And these ASHA workers plays a very important role in providing these kind of things. And one is the mobile connectivity. Because of the mobile connectivity, things have changed all those. Okay. Now, the next important aspect is the technology development. So, when we want to create any kind of a solution, technology plays a very important role. So, what are the challenges in terms of the technology development? One of the focused requirement is the cost reduction and without compromising the quality. So, I will say in terms of healthcare perspective, it's a diagnostic quality, improving the patient experience and improving the healthcare delivery without sacrificing the required clinical diagnosis. At the same time, the cost has to be reduced. So this is a very important goal where one has to look into if they want to do some kind of innovation in the field of healthcare application or a clinical application. Because of this digital initiatives, lot of things happen. I just want to highlight few digital initiatives just for your information, nothing else. So this was started some time back where they have an integrated health information platform covering all the different zones. And what happens is that any kind of a pandemic, any kind of epidemic disease that happens and all, that sector will be completely identified using the satellite information. So for example, say hypertension, diabetic and other kind of cancers like cervical, breast cancer, all those things are all. Mass screening is happening because of this digital era. So the mass screening is nothing but go to that place itself, in the village itself, and collect the basic fundamental information and try to do a simple screening mechanism. So for example, say for breast cancer, they may do the ultrasound, using the ultrasonography, they would have done the screening and find out whether they have any kind of a symptom and all, whether they are in the stage 1 or stage, all those things is possible because of this digital technology. Then a lot of integration happened between the hospital and within the hospital, and all the medical colleges, they have the kind of a network called a National Medical College Network, so that they will have the telemedicine setup to understand the nature of the pathology, both for education and for the clinical advice or practitioner, whatever it may be, all those things. And teleradiology has improved a lot because of this technology. Then like information like My Health Record System, online registration system, Mera Hospital, all those things are a kind of a standing example in terms of this thing. Then in terms of the maternal well-beingness, selective these things and all, and mobile academy, Kilkar, these are some good examples in these things. Okay. Now, when you talk about innovation, it's very, very important in terms of the bio-innovation. So the biomedical innovation, or we can say biotechnology innovation, whatever it may be, it's very important. The engineering community has to work together with the clinical community. So to bridge the gap between this engineering and the medical domain, a lot of initiatives have been taken, especially one of the initiatives taken by the IEEE section is that technical activities, the IEEE Engineering and Medicine and Biology Society, which try to bring all the people together, like engineers, clinicians, clinical practitioners, medical fraternity, then healthcare industries and the startup people, try to bring everything together in a one single platform and try to bring some kind of innovation out of this mechanism. So being in the academic environment, we need to create a kind of environment where we have to bring all the people together. So especially for the biotechnology innovation or an bio-innovation, the need of the hour is that bringing the academic fraternity of medical engineering together. So wherever you see these people come together, things are moving forward in a very positive direction. A lot of innovation happens there. A lot of translation happens there. One example is that AIIMS Delhi and IIT Delhi. So Amrita institution, universities, those are all some examples where the engineering and medical, they work together and bring a lot of innovation. So in terms of this bio innovation, one of the initiatives taken by the government of India in around 10 years back is the Stanford Biodesign Model. See, the Stanford Biodesign Model is nothing but the students who have a fundamental interest towards innovation, no matter whether they have completed the engineering or a medical, whatever it may be, they need to apply, and they have been trained at Stanford University, and after training and all, they come back to India and come with a kind of a translation of idea to prototype into product. This was the model that was initiated in Stanford University, and same topology has been applied in India. They call it a Stanford India model. So they create a kind of an alliance between the two institutions, the India through the Department of Biotechnology and the Stanford University. They came forward and introduced these kind of a global technical collaborative workshops and other aspects. Through this model, what happens is they get an opportunity to understand the problems and execute it accordingly. So I have seen a lot of students, especially those who have completed engineering as well as the medical, those who have completed MBBS, they started exploring the possibility in this topology, and they have come with a lot of innovative things. So you just Google Stanford India Design, Biodesign framework, you will get a lot of works, a lot of innovative product that has been developed by this community in the recent years. You will get all those information. So taking this straight into account, we at the Ramaiah Institution, we had the opportunity of that medical and engineering in the same platform. We have a Ramaiah Medical College and Hospital, multi-specialty hospital, as well as our Ramaiah Institute, all in the same campus. So what we did is we introduced the same topology, calling the medical and the engineering fraternity together, undergraduate level of both engineering and medical students together. So we sent an open call. This has happened 3 or 4 years back. Then a lot of students applied. Then we shortlisted students based on their ideas, their interests, their background, because we don't want to have some namesake kind of thing. Okay. Then the next step is we invited the teaching fraternity or the academic fraternity from engineering as well as the medical. We got the mentors from few industries, healthcare industries. Then we all attended the introductory session. Then we formed a team. So a team comprises of an engineering student, medical student, engineering fraternity, and a medical fraternity. This is a very innovative thing which we initiated. So what was the next step? Once we formed the team, we have 2 hospitals. One is the teaching hospital, another is the multi-specialty hospital. So around, I remember, around 60 participants were there. So we formed into around 8 groups, and we visited different departments. So day 1, we spent the entire day in the hospital just as an observer. So we observed the day-to-day activities happening in a typical department. starting with the patient interaction with the doctors, the technician interaction, staff, nurse, duty doctors, then attenders, all those things we observe. And at the end of the day, by following all the norms, we interacted with the patient, the staff nurse, clinicians, and attender, duty doctor, everyone, and we spent around 12 hours for this purpose. So once we finished it, from a department perspective, we just listed what are the problems they face. From clinician perspective, what are the problems they faced. From patient perspective, what are the problems they faced. And staff, nurse, and attender, and duty doctor, what are those? We listed all these things as a brainstorming session. Once this session got over, we listed the problems to be identified. We listed around 15 to 20 problems and the feasible solution. Then we have been asked to give priority to top 3 problems and present top 3 problems to the panel. The panel comprises of a senior clinical specialist, industrial managing director from the healthcare sectors, and a senior faculty from the engineering aspect. All these people reviewed these things, and the next point is we have been given a week time to come with a prototype. It can be of any kind of a paper-based model or any kind of an materials which have been provided by the workshop members. So the authority gave all the facilities. I think each one have been given some 10,000 something like that for to purchase the materials and all. So after the 10th day, we again gathered together and demonstrated within our internal members. Later on, all this concept note was presented to a panel, and the complete presentation has happened and showed the way from an idea to the first level prototype or the model. Among the 6 shortlisted model, 2 of them is already in the second level of the product in the last 2 years. So this is a typical example which I just want to illustrate to this forum, that how such models effectively work, improving our capability, number one. It gives an opportunity for us to learn the things which we would not have come across. An interesting point is the observation. We don't observe a small, minute things which matters a lot for the public, for the clinician. So this model really helped us a lot, and it's very important that such models is a very essential criteria towards biotechnology innovation or a bio-innovation. So taking this into account, I just want to share the few case studies which we have done in the last few years addressing the healthcare requirement and the feasible solution. In today's requirement or the technology development or advancement, I hope all you will agree that wearable electronics plays a very important role. We know that Fitbit is one standing example, and those who have gone for operation or surgery and all, they need to be monitored continuously. And when you perform any kind of activities and all, if you have a cardiac related problems and all, and especially for a military application and for geriatric care, whatever may be, wearable technology is the need of the hour because it reduces the movement of the subject towards the hospital, and we can remotely monitor the patient thanks to our mobile connectivity and cloud framework and the IoT framework. So wearable technology needs a lot of innovation. Even though several products are available, country like India need to focus on this because we are the healthcare sector. We have the maximum percentage of people involved in this healthcare, especially on startup aspect. So providing a solutions to these underdeveloping countries or developing countries, India can take the lead compared to the other countries. So let me start with one. The first example is the vein imaging system, which was funded by IEEE engineering project in community service. This is the initiative is done by Purdue University. This project was funded, I think, 3-4 years back with our IEEE students. Fine. What is the need for this study? The main purpose of the vein imaging is it helps to detect the veins for different intravenous application. Any related vascular disease can be identified. And especially for the geriatric group, even if you want to do the blood test, you will not get the cooperation from the subject. The main reason is that identifying the nerves, veins is very, very difficult for age group. So what the staff nurse will do, they will keep on pinching at different places. You will not get a cooperation from the subject. This is a typical vein imager. I think it costs around 20 lakhs. So the vein imaging system, what we have proposed is based on the IR infrared camera, where it induces the infrared light, and whatever the changes that happens in the blood, the absorption and reflection concept is taken into account. So those information is been grabbed and converted in the form of image, and we identify the vein region. So this is the overall principle. So what we did is that we took the web camera which is available with us. This is a screenshot of a web camera. So the internal parts of the camera we replaced with a photodiode. So our entire device comprises of a web camera, our software framework, which is integrated in a laptop. That's it. It's a laptop-based portable system. That is the thing we developed. So we started looking into the different photodiode, near infrared. The wavelength is 880 nanometer. So we started attempting it in different version, prototype 1, 2, 3, like that. So this is the first level prototype, second level prototype, the placement of the photodiodes and how we get the images, which has to be focused, all those permutation combination, all those things happen in our lab setup. So finally, we landed in a fourth level prototype. Until third level prototype, just as a kind of a initial level. So the completely the LEDs have been integrated. Whatever the illumination thing was available in earlier camera, we removed it and we use our IR photodiode with a wavelength of 880 nanometers, embedded everything in a camera, and the camera is interfaced to the laptop through the cable. Now this can be wireless, but those days, I think 4-5 years back we did this. So that time we used it as a USB and did our image processing analysis using the OpenCV, Visual C++ language, all those things and all. So this is a typical screenshot. What we did is that the resolution of the images for the clinical practitioner or a clinician's inspection, we give them a kind of a tool where the panel where they can adjust the requirement. So the region of interest, how they want it and all those things, that flexibility we gave to the end user. So we considered the input image, converted into grayscale. So we did the automated region of interest. So these are the test results where you can see the color coding is given for the So after this procedure, we did the we got the ethical clearance from the MS Ramaya Medical College and Hospital Board, and we recruited subject 96 all healthy volunteers of groups, and skin color matters a lot. All those factors we consider it. Now this is an input image of an elbow region. We did all these things and all, and finally the clinician who validated this image, he stated that cephalic vein and cauda median cubital vein are seen. Two tributaries to median cubital vein in the curved part is also seen. So the level of the visibility of the vein was in evident through this measure or the portable camera. This is another example where the basilic and cephalic vein along with the dorsal venous network on the dorsal region of the hand. The next example is the externojugular vein in the neck region, and the image has exactly captured the required region of interest very, very effectively. So the entire cost of this vein imaging system, we brought it around 5,000, and if you include the laptop cost, probably it may come around together say 60 to 70,000. So within less than a 1 lakh cost, we have come with a kind of a system which will help in doing the early screening, and which will help the staff nurse to check the veins of the geriatric group properly. So only one pinch is enough, and this has been done successfully based on this. And currently we are doing a kind of a validation to improve this concept thing, and probably we may come with a better perspective on this vein imaging systems. Okay. Let me go to the next wearable prototype. So we want to develop a kind of a prototype which is something similar to that Fitbit. But what we want to do is that we want to learn the 3D printing technology, and everything is should be our innovation. That with that motivation, we started this wearable one. It is kind of a wrist-based PPG monitoring system. Then we created data, and we applied the algorithm, and we validated. So these are the three important goals. Okay. So this is the hardware setup which completely has been done by our student group. So this is the one which we developed using our own 3D printing technology facilities. We did this thing. All the measurements have been taken, and how the enclosure should be, how the component sensor should go inside along with the board, everything we did it. So this is the three different things we did it: finger-based, wrist-based, and carotid artery. So these things we have done. All these sensors, everything is enclosed, and through the wireless Bluetooth enabled, it will be transmitted through your front end system, maybe a mobile or a laptop. So we collected the data around 204 from these things, and we also collected our designed system as well as the clinical standard called bionomadic system, and making the subject to perform some action. So what we did is we went to our JP Park, which is located near to our area. So those who are coming to the park, we request them, because we have done the ethical clearance for this study. So we managed to collect the data based on these things, and we also tested with our own male volunteers, female volunteers for doing specific activity, want to see the heart rate variability changes. So these are the demographic details. This is an example we have shown. This is the activity which we have done it with all the things, wrist, finger, and carotid artery. These are the signals we have seen. So all these signals after we collected, we also did the qualitative assessment by inviting the clinicians. So clinicians have confirmed that whatever record has been done, it's correct. After that only we started validating our signals using the appropriate algorithms. So the main focus here is that what are the parameters that signifies based on this study, and we collected the standard parameters or the features and compared with the standard values and how it correlates. That helps in doing the different tasks. So what we did is we used our data analysis and with a standard data which has been already published with different demographic group. So we did the HRV analysis. We compared our results with those standards. We were able to see our error tolerance is 0.01, which was in terms of sensitivity and specific sensitivity was 99%. So we were able to get a very good results compared to the other state-of-the-art techniques reported already in the literature. So in the previous one, we have collected all the parameters. And this is the overall results we were able to derive from our results. We did the statistical analysis. Our results ensured that whatever the design we have done and whatever the data we have grabbed it is suitable for screening the subject for heart rate variability. So quick screening is possible with the developed device. So as a future improvement, we want to focus on these things and all. We want to ensure that the hardware will have more wireless capability and the data collection can be improved to identify and recognize the disease in a better way. We want to ensure that the signal is robust. We want to ensure pre-processing algorithm to make our signal noise free. And also we want to do in-depth analysis and come with a kind of algorithm where it will give a kind of a match that of the clinical validation. So whatever the clinicians do at the hospital level, we want to ensure that our algorithm matches. Is nothing but sensitivity is better. It should be greater than 95% with a larger population size. So if you want to do any kind of such study, at least you should have 2,000 to 3,000 sample size for a better claim. So this is one just example where we made an attempt within our in-house facilities, designed our wearable wristwatch. Because of the 3D printing facility, we did it. We bought the materials and we did the 3D printing. We assembled it. We used it for the data collection. Everything is in-house and the open source software has been used for the analysis. Okay, the next attempt we did with the case of a real-time cardiac monitoring. So with the need of the hour is that we don't know when the subject will get any healthy person, any human subject get the cardiac arrest. We don't know. So we want to see how we effectively can do a real-time monitoring. So we explored these things and started exploring these things. So we have considered these concepts along with the body movement using the accelerometer sensors and all. So all these things correlated and we did the lab-based setup starting with our breadboard-based setup. Then the next model we did it, the development board, all those things. We designed the circuit and developed it, and later we developed a the first level wearable prototype, which will detect the cardiac signals continuously and will alert the subject or the doctor about any kind of a pathology that is going to happen. So it will predict the subject is having some low pulse, so some alert message will send. This is just a preliminary level work we did. So this is the prototype developed and it was validated by our cardiologist, Dr. Nagamalesh, with our student community. Okay. Now, these are the other wearable garment which is available in the market, global market, and cost of these garment are very, very high. So we thought, why can't we come with a concept of a wearable T-shirt, bringing the cost down and make it is a kind of a usable for long-term monitoring, especially for cardiac activity. So taking this thing into account, we started looking into the textile-based electrodes, overcoming the gel-based electrodes, and use the different platform, including the LabVIEW framework, Python, as well as the MATLAB framework for our purpose. So the main idea is to collect the data and use the textile-based sensor. So textile, identifying the textile material and ensuring the conductivity. If you use this textile material, you can use it for long last, more than 24 hours. No need to apply any kind of a gel. It will not create any kind of skin irritation, skin related problem, all those factors. So we started with our lab-based model. First level prototype, we just tested with initial thing. We collected the initial recording, checked the quality of the signal, all those things we did it. Then we developed the first level wearable T-shirt. So the subject is wearing the T-shirt. Inside it, the gadget is there, the portable gadget. Since it's first level, we have used the wired one. That means we have used the chest electrodes, and from the chest electrodes, an accelerometer, there will be a wire which will be go to a console unit. The console unit was fit in the hip as a kind of a belt. So everything in a real-time recording. The subject can go, move, and do his regular activities. His cardiac signal or the electrocardiogram signal will be recorded and it will be analyzed automatically and will give an indication about his heart rate variability, and other important parameters, and says that beat-to-beat classification for the clinician's diagnosis, and say that whether he will have any kind of a symptom of heart attack or any other criteria. So cardiac episode can be detected by these methods. So I have given three, just a standing example, how innovation is feasible with a lab-based setup. With available setup, we can do very well. So the next aspect is the level of biomedical industries or the impact of these biomedical industries in India. So when you look at the global market, India is one of the most preferred institutions or the destinations for biomedical companies. And we know with this COVID era, the vaccination, we are the technical leading nation compared to other countries. Our Covaxin has done a miracle thing, and it has reached thousands of millions of population and is one of the standing examples. So biopharma, biomedical and healthcare industry with the startup things has taken our country to a globally, even though because of this pandemic, there will be a kind of an ups and downs in terms of investment, but it is predicted that 2030, India will be the technical leading country in terms of bio innovation as well as the biotechnology innovation. And these are the leading healthcare sectors that has its own set up in India, especially in Bangalore. So Bangalore is a kind of a hub, healthcare we can call it a kind of a healthcare hub, and you will find all these things except the serum, rest of them are located in Bangalore. So these are just an example where we can do wonders, we can collaborate with industries and do whatever we. And these are the other list of biomedical company. I just listed the few. And a lot of startups, all those things. So what are the things the government is saying? The government is taking care of these things by providing skilled training programs through the lot of this Department of Biotechnology is doing a lot of interesting things towards these things and all. In terms of the infrastructure facilities, and a lot of incubation have been set up very recently. Government of Karnataka is having its own setup, and they are also promoting with different institutions and all these for the innovation and the incubation things. And because of the digital connectivity, all these epidemic centric factors is well known, and it is integrated so that no reach will be quicker, faster, and whatever it has to be done on the spot, that is happening thanks to the technology changes. Find a lot of opportunities in this field, especially for biotechnologies as well as the biomedical people. Different opportunities are there within our country. It's a biochemical engineer, biophysicist, and a research engineer. Research, yes, these major healthcare sectors, they look for design engineers, electrical engineers, biomedical engineers. All those things are still available. One of the interesting aspects we have to note down at this juncture is the startup India. So when you look into the startup aspect within the matter of 10 to 12 years, India has taken its own path, and it has come with a very interesting and innovative ideas, and translation is being happen, and now we are the technical lead in certain areas. So especially country like India's potential and the population size and the survey size, Bangalore is standing #1 in terms of the healthcare, especially in the healthcare area. We have a lot of startups. So there are a lot of opportunity for the faculty as well as the students, both undergraduate level and postgraduate students, to have a kind of a healthy setup with these startup companies. Either you can go to the startup company, or you can bring the startup company at your institution level, request them to be a kind of initiate a collaboration or give them a necessary space and initiate all these things. When looking into the funding aspects, only in 2020 it has little bit come down because of the pandemic, but I was told based on the certain factors that it is booming like anything in 2021. So this is the startup funding by the institutions, NGOs, and other private sector is keep on increasing and all. So it will definitely have a kind of it will definitely target globally towards the innovation. Suppose if you want to do a startup, the government is giving a lot of norms. You can find all this information in your BIRAC website, and what are the procedures that can be started. And you can also have a collaboration with global partners. It need not be a national level partners. International partners also welcome. Therefore, they have given all this information. So just Google Startup India, so you will get all this information. Startup India website will have all those information. And what are the supports you will find in terms of these things? DBT and BIRAC, the last 10 years, they are doing a wonderful job in promoting the startups. And Department of Biotechnology, in association with Department of Science and Technology, we know that Karnataka Biotechnology Innovation Center is doing well, and a lot of seed capital is provided. Then another one is the first facilitation of innovation regulation for startups and innovators hub has been created, and there through them a lot of hubs have been developed in the recently. So you can just Google these informations. They will provide a lot of opportunity for the student community as well as the academic fraternity.
ಊಟದ ತಟ್ಟೆಯಿಂದ ಮಾಡಿರೋದ ಇದು? ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೀವೇ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು?
ಕಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಾನೇ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು.
ಸರಿ ಸರಿ ಸರಿ.
ಒಳಗಡೆ ಒಯ್ದು ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಬಿಸಿಗೆ ಅದು ಆಚೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ಮಲ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಿರೋದು.
ಓಕೆ.
ಈಗ ಇದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಬೇಕೋ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿ ಕೂರಿಸೋದು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಬೆಂಕಿ ಹತ್ರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬೆಂಕಿ ಹತ್ರ ಬ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು. ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇರೋ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಫ್ಯಾನ್ ಹಾಕಿಲ್ಲ.
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಕೆಟ್ಟೋದ್ರೆ
ಯೂಸ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಕೆಟ್ಟೋಗಲ್ಲ, ಯೂಸ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ.
So this is a good example for us that a person who is a seller who try to innovate his ideas, and when a vendor is in a position to do it, why not we engineers with the help of the budding student community and with the help of the industry people and the startup India, we can do wonders. So this is the need of the hour which we need to look into it very properly. Fine. Now, in terms of the innovation, the first and foremost thing what we need is the makerspace. See, the makerspace concept is something new for India, but Western countries, this is quite common in most of the academic sector. This is a kind of a hobby club. See, most of the Western universities, they call it a hobby club where interested students, those who want to translate their ideas and all, they will be given a big space. They will dump all the electronics, electrical materials, all different consumables. It will be loaded there with a battery, charging facility, power facilities, everything will be available. And the students can do something and showcase their talent. That is the way. So this has been expanded to our requirement for innovation. I think this makerspace is a very important thing. So what are the things we need? The first thing is we should have open-minded information. We are ready to share it. And foremost thing is this, the ideas which we are planning to do it or which we want to share, you can very well protect your ideas. The best way is you should have a strong IPR team. So institutional IPR team should take care of these things. So the first ideas is innovative, then you can file a patent for your ideas, taking into a complete specification and all. Then you can share your ideas to others, nothing wrong in that. So that is the first and primary requirement. Then you have to look into the real world scenario. So when you want to come with any kind of ideas, and you should have a marketing strategy. So the best way is we can grab the MBA graduates or those who, if the institution is having MBA department, you can collaborate with them and ask them to do the marketing survey. They will help us. And we should have a strong collaborating partners in terms of industries, academia, mentors, those who have already worked in academic environment, those who have passion in terms of research and innovation. Please grab them as a kind of a mentor, collaborator, all those things and all. And they should be a kind of a cross discipline. See, when you try to do something, it should not be restricted to your one discipline. It should be always a cross discipline. So we should have, these are the ingredients which is essential for the maker space, which we need to look into it. So put everything, dump everything into one place, whatever may be the facility. So we have to come forward to provide these facilities. This is very, very important. If you want to innovate, we should get the kind of a support, the fundamental facilities, yeah, free space with all the facilities and all, so that we can expect some kind of a translation from ideas to the first level prototype and the different TRL level cases. So I just want to conclude my part is that bio innovation and the maker space should go hand in hand, in the sense that create a space, bring people together, provide the opportunity for everyone to share their ideas, knowledge, then give them a kind of a credits by doing the IP filing, so that your ideas will be protected. Then you can free enough to move forward to the next direction of translating the idea into a fruitful prototype, and from the prototype to the product. So the marketing strategy will say that whether the product is feasible globally or not. And if you do this product, whether takers are there or not, all those information you will be getting it. So it's not a 1% or 2% of the same discipline. It should be a class discipline. And this is a kind of a concept which bring people together. And I'm very sure plenty of opportunities are available. Healthcare is the need of the healthcare solutions, the need of the hour, especially in the pandemic. We are telling that COVID thing has been drastically has come down, but still it has not. Some of the states have been completely, the numbers is increasing. Even our places also, it's keep on increasing. So we have to follow the protocols, that is and SOPs that is meant for this COVID thing. But this bio innovation and maker space, you can make it as a reality, provided you all come together, put your efforts sincerely, and rather talking, just start your activities. That will speak about volume in terms of your amount of work or your contribution. So with this short note, I just want to conclude my session. Since it's a very generic concept, I thought I should not give more information that will deviate the concept. That's why I restrict my attention with these things. This is my contact point, and I'm happy to take your question at this point. Thank you very much. So you can either post your question. If the number is very less, I don't know the numbers. You can post your question, or you can ask the question.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And participants, if you have any queries, please post it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
Sriram sir,
Yeah, please.
can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
Sir, can we profile the soil using your image processing technique?
Can you?
Can we profile the soil? Can we
Uh-huh.
the nutrient composition in the soil using image processing?
Yeah. We can do that. We can do that, but once we have the images, somebody has to validate it and tell us that expertise they have. Then we can do that
Any work
because
is
we
done?
need a reference, right? So the expert should tell that this is the once we show the image, they have to tell that. Then it's possible.
Any work is done in that area?
I'm yet to check it. I have no clue.
Because generally farmers will add the fertilizer without knowing whether it is actually present in the soil or not.
Correct. Absolutely right. Yeah.
If we can scan the soil and tell this is the composition of your fertilizer, whether nitrogen is required or not, or phosphorus is required is not, or phosphate is required or not, it will be easy for the farmers so that cost of that fertilizer can be saved.
Correct. Absolutely right. That is feasible. Only thing is from the image they have to tell that. If that validation is done by the expertise, then we can. Okay, some of them ask for the this IEEE. IEEE is a kind of a global society, technical society, which is running successfully the past 50 to 60 years. And the main advantage is that you can interact everything in a professional way. So no matter whether within IEEE Bangalore session or IEEE global, it will helps to get you a networking, good networking. Those who are in the industry sector, those who are already in healthcare sector, those who are in academic line. For example, some professors, suppose you want to do a master in abroad, this is a kind of a platform which will help you a lot. And it provide you facilities for your conference and a lot of activities supported by IEEE. They will fund you, lot of funding for student project. All those facilities are available for the student community. That's an advantage of going for IEEE. So any other question? Fine, then if you no other question, I would like to wind up my session, and I would like to thank the organizer for providing an opportunity, and thank you all.
Thank you, sir. So we, on behalf of the Department of Biotechnology, staff and students, would like to extend your heartfelt gratitude for this wonderful and valuable presentation, sir. And looking forward for more interactions and collaborations with you. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. You are welcome. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Sir, can you hear us?
Yes. Yeah, I'm able to hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Participants.